older woman captures a young man, well, everyone's going, hey, good for her. And if it's an older, middle-aged man with a young, everyone's going, ooh, doesn't feel right. There's a lot of judgmentalism that can still creep into love that has a...
Ralph Fiennes, an Academy Award-nominated British actor, shocked the world when he unexpectedly left his wife, Alex Kingston, for another woman. At that time, Ralph was only a 32-year-old actor and a husband in a marriage of 4 years. Somehow, despite being married, Ralph was involved in an outside affair that suddenly became so messy and resulted in a divorce. Fiennes was too caught up in the affair that he decided to part ways with Alex for a passionate romance with Francesca Annis, known for her work in Dune and The Libertine. It was always believed that Hollywood stars leave their wife for a younger woman, but in this story, it was different. Ralph and Francesca left the press and public in shock because Francesca was 18 years older than Ralph. To understand the story, let's start from the start. The story began when young Fiennes met young Kingston at the Royal Academy Ode Dramatic Art in London. The chemistry between the two quickly blossomed in the early 1980s, and they became lovebirds, helping each other in their career. The small care and friendship slowly developed into a relationship, but as the relationship grew, it became challenging for both of them to find a balance between their professional and personal lives. Before long, Kingston's talent was recognized in wide scale, and she was cast as Moll Flanders in the series The Fortune and Misfortunes of Moll Flanders. This role happened to make her an international star. Meanwhile, Fiennes' career was also taking off with Schindler's List. This success finally made the couple give a shot at a serious marriage, but the thoughts left a serious question whether they had a clear understanding of interest or not. The distance between the couple was growing rapidly. Kingston later opened up about the details of their marriage day. He'd been away most of that year and came back 3 days before the wedding. We were like strangers, very fragile. His mother was dying, and somehow we thought the wedding was going to heal everything. But that was crazy, of course. Their marriage lasted only 4 years, but its collapse left a mark that would linger far longer. When Fiennes fell in love with fellow actress Francesca Annis, it wasn't just the end of a relationship, it was a profound emotional rupture for Kingston. The betrayal cut deeply, stripping away her sense of stability and self-worth. She struggled to survive the weight of it, sinking into a depression so dark that, at her lowest point, she admitted she questioned whether life was worth continuing. The pain wasn't dramatic. It was quiet, consuming, and terrifyingly real. As she once reflected with painful honesty, she was nothing like the strong characters she portrayed on screen. She was emotionally fragile and deeply wounded. After the separation, Kingston still referred to him as the love of her life. The loss was so overwhelming that she couldn't bear to watch his work or even remain in London, fleeing the city to escape the memories they shared. Every reminder felt unbearable. For years the associations refused to fade. Yet time, slow and unglamorous, began to soften the sharpest edges. Eventually, she found herself sitting in a cinema, watching The Constant Gardener, the first of his films she'd seen since their breakup. To her surprise, she felt no surge of pain. She could simply observe and think, almost peacefully, that there was a remarkable actor on the screen. Nothing more. In that moment, she realized healing had finally begun. Time wasn't the only balm. A second marriage helped her rebuild what had been broken. Kingston found love again with journalist Florian Hertel, and with him, she fulfilled a long-held dream of motherhood after a difficult and emotional struggle. The arrival of their daughter, Salome, marked a quiet triumph after years of loss. Reflecting on her past, Kingston later acknowledged that her relationship with Fiennes had lacked emotional openness. In contrast, she described Hertel as disarmingly available and emotionally present, something that had been missing for over a decade. Looking back, she seemed to understand that love alone is not always enough. As for Fiennes, his departure remains a lingering question. Why did he leave Kingston? And what exactly happened? The relationship that followed was born in controversy and shadowed by quiet irony. Fiennes became involved with Francesca Annis during a stage production of Hamlet, where she portrayed his mother, a detail that only heightened the public's fascination. At the time, Annis was in her early 50s, a mother of 3, and had spent 2 decades in a committed relationship with photographer Patrick Wiseman. That long partnership ended when she fell in love with Fiennes, choosing to step into an uncertain future with him instead. For more than a decade, Fiennes and Annis were inseparable. Their 11-year relationship was often described as one of the most stable and grounded in the entertainment world. The age gap drew attention, but neither of them seemed troubled by it. Annis once remarked that dwelling on something unchangeable felt pointless, and she accepted it without regret. Parenthood, however, was never part of their shared vision. Annis later acknowledged that Fiennes had no desire to have children, a quiet but significant divide that lingered beneath the surface. Then, just as suddenly as their story had begun, it unraveled. The ending was brutal in its familiarity. Annis found herself reliving the same shock and disbelief that Kingston had endured years earlier. Once again, the revelation arrived without warning. Another affair, another fracture. This time, the third presence was a much younger Romanian singer who later claimed her relationship with Fiennes began after a chance meeting at a London party. According to her account, the affair lasted 2 years, quietly eroding the foundation of his long-term partnership. The fallout was swift and devastating. The betrayal ended what had taken 11 years to build, reducing a seemingly unshakable bond to silence and legal statements. Annis, who had always guarded her privacy fiercely, once said she never wanted her personal life consumed by strangers. Yet that fear became reality. Determined to retain what dignity she could, she spoke only through her lawyer, confirming the separation in the briefest of terms. And so it ended. Not with scandalous confessions or dramatic scenes, but with a simple announcement marking the close of a relationship that had once seemed enduring. In the aftermath, the pattern was impossible to ignore. Love, secrecy, and betrayal had circled back once more, leaving behind the same unanswered question. Was this an isolated failure of the heart, or the repetition of a history never fully confronted? By the time this chapter unfolded, Fiennes already become famous for a nickname, a serial cheater. So it was perhaps inevitable that rumors would follow him onto yet another set. When he starred opposite Jennifer Lopez in Made in Manhattan, the tabloids quickly went to work. Photographers caught the two together at a restaurant outside filming hours, and almost overnight, speculation exploded. At the same time, Lopez was also being linked to Ben Affleck, leaving the public guessing which story was real, and whether any of them were. In the end, the truth turned out to be far less dramatic than the headlines suggested. Fiennes later explained that the whispers of a romance were never meant to be taken seriously. According to him, the rumors were encouraged to keep attention focused on the film and, more than anything, to help Lopez deflect the constant scrutiny around her personal life. With dry humor, he later described himself as little more than a distraction, useful for a moment, then quietly replaced once Affleck entered the picture. Despite the circus surrounding them, there was no real affair to mourn. Fyans spoke respectfully of Lopez, and she was equally clear in shutting down the narrative. She emphasized that she had always kept strict boundaries on set, even when working with people she admired. While she acknowledged Fyans's charm and appeal, she insisted there was never anything romantic between them, maintaining that professionalism had always guided her career choices. What lingered, however, was the contrast between rumor and reality. For Fyans, it was another reminder that reputation often speaks louder than truth. For Lopez, it marked the closing of one chapter and the beginning of another. Not long after filming wrapped, she and Affleck confirmed their relationship publicly, ending the speculation for good. Looking back, the episode feels less like a scandal and more like a snapshot of a time when image, illusion, and expectation blurred together, leaving behind only echoes of what people thought they saw. After his separation from Anis, he never remarried. There were whispers, of course, unconfirmed links to women like Patti Smith, Amanda Harleck, and Ellen Barkin. But nothing solid ever emerged. Whether these were fleeting moments or simply stories inflated by reputation remains unclear. What is clear is that Fyans seemed to retreat, choosing discretion over exposure, as though experience had taught him the cost of public intimacy. That silence held for a time, until it was broken by another deeply uncomfortable episode. A former flight attendant stepped forward with claims of a brief but explicit encounter with the actor aboard a commercial flight. The woman, later dismissed from her airline job after acknowledging the incident, said Fyans denied her account. Yet the consequences fell almost entirely on her. The attention that followed didn't fade quietly. It consumed her life. She later spoke about the emotional fallout, describing how the scandal fractured her sense of self and left her struggling with shame, health issues, and isolation. She admitted that rebuilding her confidence took years. Friendships felt complicated, motivations questionable, and forming new relationships nearly impossible under the weight of public judgment. At one point, she described feeling as though she had disappeared from her own life, desperate to stop living in emotional exile. In one painfully honest moment, she reflected that she felt she had lost years of her life, but still held on to hope that she might reclaim them someday. For Fyans, the episode only reinforced his instinct to withdraw. In recent years, glimpses into his private world have been rare. In 2019, he was photographed traveling through Italy with an unidentified brunette. No statements, no explanations, just a fleeting image before the curtain fell again. These brief sightings feel almost accidental, as if the actor is passing through the edges of public curiosity rather than inviting it in. Given the long trail of rumors, betrayals, and scandals attached to his name, his guarded approach now seems less mysterious and more inevitable. Perhaps privacy is no longer a preference, but a form of self-preservation, an attempt to live quietly after so much of his personal life was lived as public spectacle. Fyans is said to be on his own, and the question that quietly lingers is whether his past has finally caught up with him. His reputation, as a man drawn to intense, consuming relationships that often ended in betrayal, casts a long shadow. After years of highly publicized affairs and broken trust, it's natural to wonder whether anyone could truly feel safe placing their heart in his hands again. His relationships with Kingston and later with Anis revealed the devastating aftermath of infidelity, not just for him, but for the women who loved him. Kingston was left emotionally shattered, struggling for years to recover from a loss that nearly broke her. Anis, too, experienced the sudden collapse of a bond she believed to be enduring. These were not fleeting romances. They were long, deeply intertwined partnerships, and their endings carried lasting consequences. What remains elusive is the truth behind Fiennes' repeated pattern of departure. Moving seamlessly from one long-term relationship into another, he seemed to pursue love with the same intensity he brought to his performances. To some, that made him a hopeless romantic. To others, it suggested a cycle he never fully confronted. A man capable of great devotion, yet unable to remain faithful. In recent years, he has retreated from public scrutiny, guarding his private life with visible care. Still, occasional glimpses emerge, photographs of him in the company of unfamiliar women, brief moments that spark curiosity but offer no answers. Fans continue to speculate, caught between nostalgia for his most famous love stories and skepticism shaped by everything that followed. And so, the questions remain unanswered. Is his past a closed chapter or merely a prologue? Will he ever allow the public to truly know the next person he loves, or has he chosen silence as his final defense? For now, Fiennes walks on alone, leaving his romantic future suspended somewhere between reputation, redemption, and mystery.